And there's been a lot of pro...
Wait, at the bottom. What at the bottom?
And there's been a lot of pearl-clutching over the last several days from my colleagues across the aisle on Donald Trump, Secretary Rubio, the Department of Government Efficiency's plan to reorganize the U.S. Agency for International Development, or as we all now know, USAID.
Right-click, inspect element, go to the bottom. Well, I don't know what you want me to do or find or go for. Or... Oh, wait, is it a different site? www.dogetracker.com? What the fuck is this website? 37.69 billions. Have you seen the anonymous video that was made about the economy? No? They say there's been $37.69 billion saved, and $30 billion of this just comes from Trump firing a ton of employees, and the source for that is a tweet? Are we not rehiring for any of the people who have resigned? After the Eric Adams decision, can we just solidify crime is no longer a thing for all government officials who voted for... Yeah, I guess if you're voting for Trump, you might as well just commit whatever federal crimes you want. Because apparently you just gotta get off. That's good, I guess. 60,000 employees, $300 billion. I'm just curious how much... Or $30 billion. 30 million, 30 billion divided by... So how are we even estimating the saved money here? I don't even know what the fuck this means. Where does this $30 billion even come from? Is this just like a random fucking number that they made up? It's made up. Okay.
They're screaming about Elon Musk over there, but hey, George Soros and his boy are okay. You know, they scream that we're all a threat to democracy when they've been systematically dismantling democracy before our eyes. They've been caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and there's no going back. So I would tell my colleagues across the other side of the aisle, take your salty tears and sit right back down. USAID has long strayed from its mission to effectively and efficiently administer aid to advance American interests. USAID has become rotten to its core, sacrificing the prudent use of taxpayer dollars at the altar of advancing radical, sinister social and political agendas abroad. From discriminatory DEI initiatives to extreme gender ideology to marginalize real bona fide biological women. For decades, while homeless veterans sleep on our streets, our communities rebuild from natural disasters, and American families struggle to get by, USAID has pillaged and plundered the American treasury, essentially lighting American taxpayer dollars on fire, funding some of the dumbest, stupidest, just dumbest initiatives imaginable, all supported by the left, and that's why their party is crumbling. Today, I'm going to expose some of the initiatives USAID has funded over the years and ask each of you a yes or no question. If you believe these expenditures of American taxpayer dollars put America first, so it'll be yes or no. USAID awarded $2 million to strengthen trans-led organizations to deliver gender-affirming health care in Guatemala. So to each of you this morning, does this advance the interests of American citizens paying for trannies in Guatemala to the tune of $2 million,
Jesus.
yes or no? Governor?
I have no position.
Of course you don't. Okay, USAID awarded over $750,000 to fund alleviating loneliness among migrant garment workers in India. Does this advance America's interests, Governor?
No.
No. I have no position.
USAID awarded $1.5 million for providing a gender-sensitive response to migration at the Venezuelan border. Does this advance America's interests, Governor?
No.
No. I have no position.
Does this advance the interests? Okay, so USAID awarded $4.3 million on October 1st, 2023 to a group to fund comprehensive health services for men having sex with other men in South Africa. Does this advance the interests of American citizens, Governor?
No.
No. I have no position.
I bet you don't. Okay. USAID awarded $1.5 million to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business communities by promoting economic empowerment and opportunity for LGBTQI plus people in Serbia. Does this advance America's interests?
No.
No. Nope.
You have no idea, right? Okay. USAID awarded over $70,000 to a group to deliver a live musical event to promote the U.S. and Irish shared values of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Does this advance the interests of America?
No.
No. No position.
No position or no clue. Okay, USAID awarded $1.5 million to fund strengthening community support structures to upscale LGBT rights advocacy in Jamaica. Does this advance our interests?
No.
No. No position.
USAID awarded $28 million to a group to facilitate the economic insertion of Venezuelan migrants and refugees in Peru and Ecuador. Does this advance our interests?
No.
No. No position.
Okay, USAID awarded $17.5 million to fund voluntary medical male circumcision overseas. Does this advance America's interests?
No.
No. No position.
I don't know what circumcision overseas has to do with America First either. USAID awarded nearly $150,000 to fund HIV prevention services targeting men who have sex with men and transgender. Does this advance America's interests?
No.
No. No position.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm limited to 5 minutes, but these are the programs Democrats are so desperate to save. Our foreign assistance system is badly broken, and this ends now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Mr. Chairman, parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, sir.
It's like a collection of like the worst people in the Republic.
Power
powers. It's a really novel idea, but our founding fathers created a document, the Constitution. There's a separation of powers for a reason. The executive branch is the ultimate authority on federal issues, and we have rogue judges who are trying to stop members like Doge team, Besant, from doing their job. And that's to protect taxpayer dollars, to look at what we're doing with spending, and to run the federal government under President Trump. So here's what
the one shining light here is like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. As cringe as our Supreme Court is right now, the only thing they want to defend power more for than the executive branch is themselves. There is no shot that a Roberts court is going to be happy with this much power grabbing from the president. Not that it fucking matters, I guess, if the president doesn't give a fuck anyway, but
that's why
they have abided by the blocks so far, haven't they? So it makes sense they would same for the Supreme Court. My understanding is they have not abided by it. I thought a judge issued an order today saying that they haven't been abiding by the blocks. So I don't know where you get that from.
that's it. But they don't do that.
What is this?
That's why it's laughable when you think about the Biden administration, which had every right to actually abolish student loan debt. They had all of the power, and the Supreme Court decided it was unconstitutional. Fuck the Supreme Court. What are you going to do about it? But Biden was, of course, the wrong guy for that, because he can't go on television and do what Trump does all the time, which is to say the Supreme Court is an enemy of the American people. They want people to be saddled with unlimited debt for the rest of your lives. They want you to be saddled with unlimited debt. They pulled a bullshit case out of nowhere to claim that there was a financial institution being harmed. The financial institution itself said that there's no legal standing for this court case. Are you joking? Fuck the Supreme Court? Fuck that. What are you doing? The Supreme Court shut Biden down. They did pass it. Are you so sure that if the Supreme Court said no to Trump would ignore that? Should Biden? This take is a miss. Biden did attempt to forgive student loan debt. Brother, what are you saying?
Why are we fighting about student loan debt? Oh my God. The thickest of ropes.
Hey everybody, it's Tim Miller from The Bulwark. We've got more breaking news, and I think this one's the biggest story of the day. A whistleblower has come forward to say that FBI Director nominee Kash Patel was directing the firings that we've seen at the Bureau of agents that were involved in the investigations into Donald Trump and other top-level people at the Bureau. We discussed these firings and the implications with Andrew Weissman in another video. If you missed that a while back, I'd recommend going back and checking that out. He was a former general counsel of the FBI. But the reason why this is a doozy, if the whistleblower statements are true, and I think there's good reason to believe they are, is that Kash Patel, it would mean that Kash Patel perjured himself when he was asked about this directly during his confirmation hearing. And when this Q&A happened, my spidey sense went up immediately, because it just beggared belief that there would be a purge at the FBI, that some advisory team would come in and recommend a bunch of high-level firings, and that the person that Trump nominated to run the Bureau wouldn't have been...
Fuck, I can't do that. Do we go back to the red pill arc to save our brains? Fuck no.
Involved in that? Like, it didn't make any sense to believe like that could have been true. And the fact that Kash, in my opinion, lied about other things during that hearing. I mean, again, it's hard to imagine that he wasn't involved in conversations with Trump about the pardons, which is another thing that he said. So who knows? I mean, I guess maybe, but it just doesn't really pass the smell test, is I guess way to put it. But I want to show you, because credit to Senator Cory Booker. He asked this question in a very direct manner. Almost, I don't know if Cory's spidey sense was up as well, or if maybe they had a sense that this was coming. He really cornered Kash on this question of whether he was involved in the hirings. I want to watch that clip right now.
Are you aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents or personnel associated with Trump investigations?
I'm not aware of any, Senator.
I'm not aware of any senator. I mean, that was a very clear question, straightforward. Are you aware of any efforts to punish agents who were involved in the investigations into Trump? I was not aware of any senator. So that is what he said during the hearing after a really smart question from Cory Booker. Now let's go to what we are learning from the whistleblower. We're going to a story here from the Washington Post. The Washington Post pegs the story to a letter put out by Dick Durbin, who's the ranking Democrat on the Judiciary Committee. In the letter, he says that there was a January 29th meeting between FBI's acting director Brian Driscoll and a member of this director's advisory team that I mentioned earlier. At this meeting with Driscoll, the advisory team arrived with a list of names. Durbin said this list was seen by multiple FBI leaders, and they understood it to be a collection of, quote, people in the crosshairs. The senator said he reviewed notes taken during a meeting that same day between top FBI leadership and acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove. This guy's been a really the central figure from the legal side in advancing these purges, not just at the FBI, but the DOJ and inspectors general and elsewhere. So Emil Bove is this very key figure at the DOJ, was having a meeting with FBI leadership. And Bove, according to Durbin, according to this whistleblower, told the meeting attendees that he'd received multiple phone calls the night before from Stephen Miller, Trump's deputy chief of staff, urging the swift removal of employees whom Patel had targeted for termination. KP wants movement at FBI. One attendee purportedly wrote in the notes Durbin reviewed. Let's do that again. KP, Kash Patel, wants movement at the FBI. We have here, according to my sources, Mr. Patel is receiving information from within the FBI, from a member of the director's advisory team. The senator wrote in his letter to the inspector general. It's interesting, like the one inspector general Trump kept was the inspector general that has oversight over the FBI, because he was happy about a Horowitz inspector general report against Comey and some of the other officials he didn't like. So Trump liked this guy because he had put out some reports against some deep state officials he didn't like, and so he kept him. So we'll see if that comes back to bite him. But anyway, in this letter to Horowitz, again, according to the source, it says that Patel provides direction to Stephen Miller, who relayed it to acting Deputy Attorney General Bo, and that each member had represented one or more officials at the Bureau, that they had been in direct contact with Mr. Patel. Again, in some way, this is obvious, right? It's like, really? Like, they were just going rogue. They didn't talk to Cash. They couldn't wait 2 weeks. They're just going to go start firing top officials at the FBI without telling him. I think yourself Cash issues. Maybe they fired 7 top guys and Cash liked one of them. Even if you're in Cash issues and you're being corrupt, maybe you liked one of them, right? You wouldn't go do this and have this broad purge of key people at the Bureau without talking to the person that was nominated to lead the Bureau. It just didn't make any sense. Their story didn't make any sense from the start. And it seems like the reason it didn't make any sense from the start is it wasn't true. And that Patel was involved, and that he was telling Bove and the people on the FBI advisory board who he wanted to be removed from the Bureau. So we'll see how this shakes out. The hearing, for Patel had been pushed back because the Democrats, I assume, were kind of gathering information about this, and the Democrats had asked for it to be pushed back. So we're going to have a vote on him possibly by as soon as the end of this week. We'll see if there are additional delays. But it's a pretty interesting breaking news story, to say the least. The idea that the incoming director of the FBI would have potentially perjured himself in testimony about firing underlings at the FBI.
It doesn't matter for perjury because what is the DOJ going to go after him? Is he going to go after himself? It's not nothing. This is all. What a man. Pelada. Jesus Christ. What a month. Not even a month. White House failed to comply with court order. Judge rules. Federal judge in Rhode Island said the Trump administration had failed to comply with the order unfreezing billions of dollars in federal grants. It is a basic proposition that all orders and judgments of courts must be complied with promptly. Persons who make private determinations of the law and refuse to obey an order generally risk criminal contempt, even if the order is ultimately ruled incorrect. The orderly and expeditious administration of justice by the courts requires that an order issued by a court with jurisdiction over the subject matter and person must be obeyed by the parties until it is reversed by orderly and proper proceedings. The defendants issued a broad, categorical, all-encompassing directive freezing federal funding. The plain language of the TRO entered in this case prohibits all categorical pauses or freezes in obligations or disbursements based on the OMB directive or based on the President's 2025 executive orders. The defendants received notice of the TRO. The order is clear and unambiguous, and there are no impediments to the defendants' compliance with the order. The states have presented evidence in this motion that the defendants in some cases have continued to improperly freeze federal funds and refuse to resume disbursement of appropriated federal funds. The defendants now plea that they are just trying to root out fraud. But the freezes in effect now were a result of the broad categorical order, not a specific finding of possible fraud. The broad categorical and sweeping freeze of federal funds is, as the court found, likely unconstitutional and has caused and continues to cause irreparable harm to a vast portion of this country. These pauses in funding violate the plain text of the TRO. In response to the defendants' arguments, they can request targeted relief from the TRO, from this court, where they can show a specific instance where they are acting in compliance with this order, but otherwise withholding funds due to specific authority. Therefore, consistent with the U.S. Constitution, the United States statutes, the United States Supreme Court precedent, and the TRO, the defendants are hereby further ordered as follows. 1. The defendants must immediately restore frozen funding during the pendency of the TRO until the court hears and decides the preliminary injunction request. 2. The defendants must immediately end any federal funding pause during the pendency of the TRO. 3. The defendants must immediately take every step necessary to effectuate the TRO including clearing any administrative, operational, or technical hurdles to implementation. 4, the defendants must comply with the plain text of the TRO, not to pause any funds. And 5, the defendants must immediately restore withheld funds, including those funds appropriated in the Inflation Reduction Act and the infrastructure, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well. Damn. That's what they're trying to get around. It specifies the OMB memo or presidential executive orders. They basically are trying to argue that Biden's IRA stuff doesn't count because it wasn't in the EO. The judge's targeting is complete bullshit, but I think it shows they are weaseling for anything. They aren't willing to break the court rulings in a 100% insane way. Instead, just, I mean, I don't agree with that, but I think it's pretty, this is pretty ludicrous. But
My name.
this is about the order we just read, I think. Is it this
You're
one?
watching The Legal Breakdown. Glenn, something we've been watching especially closely is the prospect of Trump not complying with court orders as he continues to commit illegal actions and then get blocked by the courts. It looks like we have finally arrived there. Can you explain what just happened?
Yeah, so a federal judge in Rhode Island who had previously issued what's called a temporary restraining order, telling the Trump administration that it must lift the freeze on the billions of dollars in federal funding that had been allocated to the states. So after that order had been issued, the Trump...
Destiny, do you support America paying for gauze and condoms? I support the rule of law. I thought conservatives used to, but...
administration had some time to comply and lift the freeze. And just today, Brian, we got another court order. It looks like the Trump administration has not complied with that temporary restraining order. So the 22 state attorneys general went back into court and sought a motion to enforce the judge's earlier order. But really, the blockbuster news is this is the first time a federal court judge has issued a ruling, a finding that the Trump administration is violating a federal court order. The judge is Judge John J. McConnell Jr. And Brian, he didn't mince any words because right in the opening salvo of today's order, he said, it's a basic proposition that all orders and judgments of courts must be complied with promptly. The judge put all of that in bold print, which you don't often see in court orders. Persons who make private determinations of the law and refuse to obey an order generally risk criminal contempt. That is a shot across the bow. Now, it's important to note that the judge did not hold the Trump administration or any official in contempt today, nor did he impose any sanctions, any fines. But it sounds like when Judge McConnell is opening with, y'all are running the risk of criminal contempt, which can include punishment, including confinement. You know, the Trump administration may want to think twice about whether they want to continue to violate court orders.
Okay, so Glenn, the judge didn't hold these people in contempt, even though they're flouting the orders that were handed down by the court. Why not? I mean, we have seen, not just from this administration in the last couple of weeks, but Donald Trump in the last few years continue to flout these orders, knowing full well that he can continue to bank off of the goodwill of these judges. And yet it seems that the justice system, that the judicial system isn't learning its lesson, that Trump isn't interested in deferring to the law, that he's going to continue to take every inch he can get. And until these judges actually take swift and severe action against him, he'll continue to barrel ahead. And so why not just learn the lessons from the past, hold these people in contempt if you're already seeing that they're willing to refuse to abide by the court orders that were handed down?
Yeah, here's why, Brian. In my 30 years being a federal prosecutor, handling, among other things, contempt charges and contempt cases, judges never, and I'm not even going to qualify that by saying almost never, judges never hold somebody in contempt for the first violation, the first transgression. What they do is they order them to comply. Now, when you read this very short court order issued today, the judge says, you know what, the Trump administration tried to say, well, we're just ferreting out fraud, waste, and abuse. And the judge said, I didn't give you any kind of an exception that would give you an escape hatch like that. Also, the Trump administration tried to say, well, there was actually a different executive order issued, and that's why we did or didn't do certain things. The judge was having none of it. So basically, you know, you usually get one bite at the violating a court order apple before judges start to get serious. So now the judge will have to monitor this order, now that he's ordered them to comply, to see if, in fact, they continue to defy the order or if they comply. And if they continue to defy, I can almost promise you the next thing you're going to see are what are called show cause hearings. you, Donald Trump, and your administration must show cause as to why I shouldn't hold you in contempt, because you've been warned once. And then there are different kinds of contempt. They can proceed with civil contempt, which is really more about fines, or they can go to criminal contempt, which can include actually detaining, confining, jailing administration officials. But let me tell you, if the judge decides to go the way of criminal contempt, there will be some more criminal contempt hearings, because then the person who is at risk of being confined has some due process rights, and there will be a hearing conducted. So listen, this is not something that ever happens instantly. It usually
Can the president ever be found in criminal contempt if he has immunity for doing his job? I wonder if
doesn't happen, the first time there is a violation of the court order. It builds over time, but I think this one is going to build and come to a head pretty
what
quick.
does it even mean to be found in criminal contempt? Like, okay, well, we found him in criminal contempt. Now the FBI has to go and arrest. Oh shit, he just pardoned himself or just told his FBI not to do it. Does it even matter? Like, what do we even...
Well, Glenn, let's game this out for a moment. And let's say, for example, that a judge does decide to try and hold an administration official under criminal contempt. Ultimately, it would be under the purview of the U.S. Marshals to actually enforce that. But aren't these U.S. Marshals under the purview of the DOJ? And so you'd have the administration would be responsible for enforcing criminal action against other administration officials, which clearly they would have no interest in doing?
Yep.
Yeah, Brian, that's the perfect question, because that is exactly where the rubber meets the road. Let's assume that after a hearing, the judge finds that a particular Trump administration official is in criminal contempt, knowingly, intentionally, and repeatedly violating court orders. What happens next? Well, it would be the United States Marshal Service that would be responsible for example, hauling that official into court and executing a court order to take that official into custody and put them in a Federal Bureau of Prisons facility. And people will say, well, wait a minute, because the U.S. Marshal Service is part of the Department of Justice and ultimately controlled by who? Donald Trump. Wouldn't he just tell them not to comply? He can try. But here's the thing, Brian. There's a federal law that sets out the responsibilities of the U.S. Marshal Service. Anybody scoring at home, it's 28 United States Code Section 566. And here's what it says. It is the primary role and mission of the United States Marshal Service to provide security for federal judges and to obey, execute, and enforce all orders of the United States District Courts. What does that mean? That means that the U.S. Marshal Service is obligated by federal law to enforce court orders. And here's the thing, Brian, we are getting closer and closer to a true constitutional crisis when the executive branch of government says, even though we are duty bound by our constitutional construct to comply with lawfully issued federal court orders, we're not doing it. Then the United States Marshal Service has a decision to make, and I don't believe it's a difficult decision. Let me say, I worked with the good men and women of the U.S. Marshal Service for decades. They take their responsibility and their loyalty to the Constitution deadly seriously. And I think the success of Donald Trump attempting to plunge us into a constitutional crisis depends on just how many people Donald Trump can recruit to his, what is a de facto criminal conspiracy to undermine the laws of our nation and to undermine the Constitution. I do not believe, and I hope I'm not being naive about this, that the men and women of the U.S. Marshal Service will say, we're going to violate the federal law that requires us to execute lawfully issued federal court orders by federal court judges. Instead, we're going to walk away from the Constitution and from our legal obligations, and we're going to side with a corrupt president. I am looking for the U.S. Marshal Service to stand strong against crime, corruption, and unconstitutional behavior and execute court orders by federal court judges.
Well, Glenn, here's my pushback to that, and I hope I'm not being too cynical here, although there's a low bar for how cynical we could be these days. But hearing that it's unlikely to see the U.S. Marshal Service do something illegal, I mean, at the same time, we're also talking about them reacting to the prospect of the situation that we are currently in, which is that Donald Trump his administration was ordered to do something. He refused to comply with a lawful order handed down by a judge, and so that's why we're in this situation. We're already in a situation where the federal government isn't following the law, and so that's why it's difficult for me to see that and say, okay, well, we couldn't possibly see a situation where somebody would, in the federal government would defy the law because we're this whole thought experiment is in response to the Trump administration
already defying the law. Yeah, why would you assume? So just the DOJ or just the president or just all of that part of the executive branch would defy the law, but the marshals wouldn't?
Already doing exactly that.
Yeah, the Trump administration is acting lawlessly. Indeed, it's acting unconstitutionally when, for example, Donald Trump signs an executive order revoking the constitutional right of birthright citizenship. And a Reagan-appointed judge who's been on the bench for 4 decades said, and I quote, "It is blatantly unconstitutional," that executive order. So we see the executive branch acting lawlessly and unconstitutionally. We see Congress, the Republicans in Congress, just laying down for Donald Trump and acting as his doormat. They're not, asserting themselves. They're not protecting their own rights and interests as a co-equal branch of government. So what's to say the United States Marshal Service will do any better? All I can say is, having worked.
The judicial unironically has zero checking powers on the executive. Kind of. I'm saying this, okay, until this permeates and other people repeat it, okay? Checks and balances only serves to function when everybody is playing by the rules. There are no checks and balances at all if the executive decides that they don't want to play ball. Okay, there's no such thing as a check or a balance on executive power if the executive says, oh, actually, we don't want to play this game anymore. You can't do anything. It's not going to be a bunch of guys in robes and a bunch of lawmakers running down the street to go and fight with the FBI and the DOD and then like the military. Like if the executive says we're not going to play ball, there are no checks and balances. Checks and balances are the procedures. Those are procedural things that we have in order to make sure one part of the government doesn't become too powerful. But if somebody decides to break with procedure, the executive, well, then you're fucked. There's nothing you can do at that point. It's over. Or it's not over. Well, I mean, the constitutional order is over. Then you get to fucking, I don't know, coups or revolutions or whatever.
With those men and women, I expect them to do better. It doesn't mean that they may go the way of the Republicans in Congress and the Trump administration. I just hope and believe they won't go that way until they do. And then, Brian, basically, the executive branch has co-opted all three branches of government, because if the judiciary cannot rely on the law that mandates that their orders must be executed and complied with, if we can't rely on that, well, then Trump has successfully co-opted all branches of government, and then welcome to the American dictatorship.
Well, look, I do want to note to that exact point that political gravity does exist, and I think that it is important that we call this stuff out as it happens so that people can be aware of it, push back on it, and we've seen the Trump administration relent before when political gravity becomes too great. So we'll continue to follow up on this stuff as soon as we have any updates. For those who are watching right now, please make sure to subscribe. The links to both of our channels are right here on the screen. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And I'm Glenn Kirshner.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown.
Illegal breakdown. What? Got him. Do you think the American people care? No, not much. This is probably still a niche issue with the majority of Americans. Just the process and procedure is just too much. I shot a show this morning with Coleman Hughes, and he's a smart dude. But I feel like even he was like, oh, I feel like Doge's mission is fine. And it's like, what about the legality? And he's like, I don't really know anything about the legality. And it's like, okay. Like it seems like most people just don't care. Not to not taking anything away from that. I just feel like most people just don't give a fuck about all the process and procedure. So, yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Have said that some of the Trump actions, early actions, would put a halt to them. J.D. Vance said that judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. You're a constitutional law expert. Ultimately, at the end, if the courts say that the administration is violating the law, should they comply with the court's demands?
Well, of course, the branches have to respect our constitutional order, but there's a lot of game yet to be played. Those will be appealed. We've got to go through the whole process, and we'll get to the final analysis. In the interim, I will say I agree wholeheartedly with Vice President J.D. Vance, my friend, because he's right. What they're doing in the executive branch, I've been asked so many times, aren't you uncomfortable with this? No, I'm not, because when Congress, for example, appropriates dollars for the executive branch to use, we build in, not only in the spirit of the law, but in the letter of the law, a broad amount of discretion for how that is used. There is a presupposition in America that the commander-in-chief is going to be a good steward of taxpayer dollars.
Why can't we just, maybe they'll do it here, or maybe it doesn't matter. This is just some fucking nerd shit. No one cares. Can somebody press him on this? There's a wide amount of discretion. What do you mean when you say that? So do you mean that the president of the United States could unilaterally kill an office authorized and funded by Congress? Can you answer that question? Can I get a yes or no on that? Because this is such a bullshit ass word game. Yes, the president is expected to be a good steward. Yes, they're expected to run the office, with the full faith that Congress has granted them. But clearly that's not what's happening here. USAid is being shut down unilaterally by the president of the United States. USAid is an independent office authorized by Congress. These two positions are not congruent. What you're saying is just you're paying ideological lip service to some position that nobody is having right now. This is not the president's position.
The commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, is going to command those within his branch of government to do the right thing by the people, to be accountable, to not fund drag shows and in Middle Eastern countries or South America, to not waste our taxpayer dollars. And that's what has been uncovered. And that's why we and the people are applauding what's happening right now in the new administration, because they've taken that seriously. And they're doing it. The forensic audits, effectively, that Doge and Elon Musk are leading. I met with Elon yesterday about this to get an update. And to me, it's very exciting what they're able to do, because what Elon and the Doge effort is doing right now is what Congress has been unable to do in recent years, because the agencies have hidden some of this from us. There's a lot of oversight activity that goes on around here all the time, you all know, but when duly elected representatives of the people request information to find all of these abuses, and it's not...
There's that fashy talk again, the people.
Turned over to us, what it takes is an actual audit of the systems and the files themselves that are often hidden from Congress. That's what you're seeing right now. And that's why this is so exciting. They're uncovering things that we have known intuitively have been there, but we couldn't prove it. Now the proof is being provided, and no one can argue the counter to that. So stay tuned. There's a lot more to come. And I think that the courts should take a step back and allow these processes to play out. What we're doing is good and right for the American people. What Doge is doing is making sure that your taxpayer dollars, all of us, are spent in the way that they're intended to be spent, and that they're in America's interest, and they're financially responsible with the precious taxpayers' money. We have a $36 trillion federal debt, and we have got to get a hold of these things. You're going to see it reflected in the reconciliation package that comes forward. You're going to see it reflected in appropriations as we go forward, and you're going to see it in these efforts to cut the waste, fraud, and abuse. And we think the final number on that is going to be substantial and a game changer in Washington for the country. So we'll have a lot.
The Inspector General of the U.S. Agency for International Development was fired Tuesday, a day after his office released a report detailing the negative impact of the Trump admin's dramatic downsizing of the agency, according to a letter obtained by NBC News. Paul Martin, who had been USAID's Inspector General since 2023, was notified of his dismissal by email. On behalf of President Donald J. Trump, I'm writing to inform you that your position as Inspector General of the United States Agency for International Development is terminated effective immediately. Trent Morse, Deputy Director of the Office of Presidential Personnel, informed Martin in an email obtained by NBC News. Thank you for your service. So the Office of Inspector General, this is the watchdog that makes sure that there's no, the waste, fraud, abuse. Top ICE official fired as well? Wait, really? The report by USAID's Office of the Inspector General, led by Martin, warned of the dangers associated with the gap in staffing, including a lack of oversight that may leave the agency susceptible to inadvertently funding entities or salaries of individuals associated with U.S.-designated terrorist organizations. It also described the uncertainty surrounding the waivers for life-saving assistance issued by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, which it said put more than $489 million of food assistance at ports, in transit, and in warehouses at risk of spoilage, unanticipated storage needs, and diversion. Martin informed his staff of his removal shortly after he received the termination notice. It's been a true honor and pleasure to walk alongside my OIG colleagues around the world as we sought to provide independent and aggressive oversight of USAID programs and personnel, Martin wrote in the email. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And as always, thank you for what you do and how you do it. Two of the top officials at U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement have been removed from their jobs amid frustrations among Trump officials that officers aren't ramping up arrests and deportations fast enough to meet the president's goals, and that some immigrant detainees have been released, according to three people with knowledge of the move. ICE staff were informed in an email Tuesday that Russell Hott and Peter Berg, the top two officials in the enforcement division of ICE, have been reassigned, according to the three people who spoke in the condition of anonymity to describe the internal memo. Nice. And then in case you weren't aware, Jesus, fuck. I keep saying that they want to take over Greenland and rename it Red, White, and Blue Land. But it's a random bill that nobody gives a fuck about. Oh, fuck. I don't really know. What the fuck was I going to say? I don't even remember. I don't know, man. It's pretty, it's a pretty wacky time. What percent of this shit is just flooding the zone bullshit meant to distract? I mean, flooding the zone for what? I don't even know, man. What are we flooding the zone with and what for? Did you see Google Maps change the fucking Gulf of America shit? Holy fuck. Could you suggest somewhere to read more about the USAid stuff for someone like myself who doesn't have much time in the day to really get into it? No, actually, I can't. I wish I could, but like, it's just one of those things where you either like you have some understanding of like how all the government agencies work, or you don't. And if you don't, it's just like so much to catch up on. Nobody will give a fuck. Like USAid is a department that's created. Ultimately, it's authorized by Congress to exist on its own to do foreign aid. Its money comes from Congress. That's how the law works. Trump doesn't like it because he's trying to figure out desperately ways to save money because there's absolutely no fucking chance that we actually make any budgetary goals this year. And so he's desperately searching for anything he can cut, and he thinks USAID seems like an easy target. But yeah. Good stuff. Anything else happened today or yesterday that we missed? Jesus. I bet that me, Ethan Klein, the capitalist, pays our housekeeper more than Hassan. Ours has health insurance, vision, dental, 401k, paid salary, and sick days. Well, that's a very good salary. I'll donate $100,000 to charity if Hassan Kabibi pays his housekeeper more than me. Damn! Yikes. Did you see that Mike from PA called Ethan housekeepers lawyer to advise them? I didn't, but I doubt he did. That guy doesn't know fuck all about anything, so. Is this woman very small, or are these rabbits incredibly huge? Or is this how big a rabbit normally is?
I'm not going to go quietly into the night. I'm a fighter. I'm not going to do this pretend whataboutism.
Can we hit the speed up?
And as long as I draw breath,
Fuck.
my loyalty is to the Republic.
Oh my God, we got
My
it somehow.
loyalty is to the country. So you don't gotta worry about that. So when the time comes and we need to organize protests, legitimate, peaceful protests against the regime, I'll be right there with you. When the time comes and we need to take concrete action, call the right people, massive amounts of pressure on our congresspeople, peaceful means, legitimate means, I'll be there with you. But I'm just one guy.
What the fuck? Is this real?
Ei, pessoal, será que esse é o maior coelho do
This is a troll. This is not real.
mundo? O que você acha? Comente aí. Ei, pessoal.
This is fake.
Here's what I can promise you.
True. Oh, nice. And then Trump, I think, said through Doge that all work from home employees have to go back to work for who the fuck knows what reason, but they got to go back to the office. So apparently every single federal employee is driving back to work based. Rap is not music, and I die on this hill. The rap is not music crowd when fucking Tom McDonald releases a new fucking album. Where's the do-rags and the fucking everything else? God, get me out of here. Didn't he do a song with Roseanne? Daddy's Home. Oh my God.
Do you have a jerk mate?
What? Define that.
Somebody who goons with you. Someone who will edge with you no matter what.
I got plenty.
Well, name them.
LeBron and Ninja sometimes.
You never take anything serious, Will. Is it because you're afraid to make a jerk mate and lose them? Or is it because all you see is every negative thing 10 miles down the road?
Where's your jerk mate? You want to talk about jerk mates? Where is he?
Dead. By Goonicide, it was the first ever case of it. But the takeaway from his case is that you shouldn't feel guilt for gooning, and instead should embrace it. I should have told you sooner that Nautica was gone, Will. It's not your fault.
Am I missing all the... What is Nautica? I don't... What is Ninja? Are these references I'm missing? Oh, Ninja the streamer. Oh, fuck me. Who's Nautica? Nautica's the dude who killed himself. Which one? I feel like there's a lot of dudes that have killed themselves. Oh, the guy that was jerking off in the thing. Oh, never mind. Okay. Just got a tip from a guy at the FAA. I believe we're still getting new government contracts. All the contracts that Department of Education, USAid, and other agencies are being nuked for more of it. Wow, Space Exploration Technologies Corp. That sounds a lot like SpaceX. SpaceX. True. Oh shit, that's what I was gonna say. The Eric Adams stuff. He's free. You guys thought he was donezo, when in reality, the Justice Department dropped everything. You guys thought he was crazy for flying to Mar-a-Lago to bow to God Emperor Trump. Eric Adams, this is the mayor of New York, who is under federal indictment, I think, right, for corruption charges. Well, September 2024, a series of investigations in Adams' administration emerged. On September 25th, Adams was indicted on federal charges of bribery, fraud, soliciting foreign campaign donations, and soliciting foreign campaign donations. On September 26th, the case was unsealed, revealing the 5 charges: bribery, conspiracy, fraud, and 2 counts of soliciting illegal foreign campaign donations. The allegations for which Adams was indicted began in 2014. It's accused of receiving luxury travel and other benefits to people from Turkey. This included Adams pressuring the New York City Fire Department to open a Turkish consular building without a fire inspection. In order to cover up his misconduct, allegedly, Adams created and instructed others to make false paper trails indicating that he actually paid for these trips in full. He was arraigned in federal court on September 27th. But that's okay. He's good now. Thank God. Oh, nice. Is he doing that? Goes to the right?
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for having us to Gracie Mansion.
Thank you. Thank you. Historical place, you know.
And you live here?
Yes, upstairs there's a residency, but, you know, I get back to Brooklyn from time to time, my place of love.
I kind of like this. I read through the indictment today on the way here. I read it the day it came out. I have no reason to suck up to you. I thought it was ridiculous. It was flimsier even than I remember. You were indicted for accepting upgraded flights and for allowing the Turkish president to occupy his own building in Manhattan. The whole thing's crazy, actually, if you read it. What was your reaction when you found out you were being indicted?
Well, I know how I live my life. You know, former police officer. The one rule my staff will always tell you, he says all the time, follow the rules, follow law, follow law. And so when I heard of this investigation, I was like, what? You know, what could I have done that would cause what I was seeing? And then when I read it, I was like, where the bags of cash?
Well, that's what I thought.
You know, where were the...
Just a heads up, I don't know particularly which flights you're talking about, but like international flights can run you, if you go first class, can be in excess of 20 grand, depending upon what first class we're talking about. Some of them are known to be very luxurious. But I think that if you want to do first class, I think even from JFK to Heathrow, from New York City to London, I think those first class flights will be in excess of like 5 grand, right? What's the cheapest that you can do first class round trip from JFK to London? These are quite expensive flights. Like, it's not like, oh my God, you got like an $800 flight. If you're going all the way to like Dubai or all the way to Turkey, this is like 10, 20, 30 plus $1,000 flights. These are super, super. Turkish Airlines first class. Like, these aren't just like big seats sometimes. These will be like, this guy said don't do it. These will be like a fucking massive massive fucking first class. Like, I don't want to say suite. Somebody in chat said suite. I don't want to say suite. I don't know for all the fucking airlines. Oh, damn. Maybe Adams got scammed, though. These people are saying. What are supposed to be the really nice ones? Is it the Dubai first class ones? Or the Japan first class ones? Oh, it might be these.
Today, I'm flying Emirates for 24 hours in their first-class suites, starting in London and flying for over 10,000 miles to the other side of the planet. So long that we'll be stopping in Dubai mid-route to stay in the world's tallest building. The next leg gets even better, where I'll fly in what I can only describe as a hotel room in the sky, priced at a mind-blowing $10,000. You'll be joining me every step of the way, from showering at 38,000 feet to hanging out in the onboard Sky Lounge, drinking vintage Dom. With that, let's pick up our story in London, England.
Wow.
There's secret stash somewhere. And what many people did not read, they saw the presentation that was given, and it was, you walk away with saying, oh my God, what did this guy do? But when you read it and you saw that I didn't open the consulate, I asked the FDNY, can you look into the inspection to get the inspection done? And so it's... So
just to be clear for people who haven't read the indictment, you are accused of being bribed by the Turkish government to allow the Turkish president or prime minister, pardon my not remembering...
Yeah, to allow the Consul General...
Consul General, my apologies.
To get an inspection to determine if they could pass a fire inspection. And if they couldn't do it, you see in the indictment, I clearly stated to manage the expectation if it couldn't be done.
So you get a call from the Turkish government and they say Turkish officials want to occupy their own consulate, which is being built in New York, hasn't received a fire inspection yet. You call FDNY and say, hey, can you do, the government wants to occupy their own building. I'm the mayor, is another country, they want to occupy their own building. Can you go ahead and do the fire inspection? There's no evidence that the building was a fire trap or out of compliance with any fire regulation. Is this correct?
Exactly.
Right. So it's a weird thing to be indicted for.
No. And not only weird to be indicted for, when you look at, being a former law enforcement person, pushing public safety, living your life a certain way, it was painful. It was extremely painful to go through this, millions of dollars in legal bills, and just not being able to respond. The hardest part about this for me, anyone that's followed my career, they know I'm a straight fighter, and this is the first time in my life that you have to sit here and be punched on, and you have to allow your attorney to fight the fight. I know how to fight, and I like to fight to defend myself, and not being able to do that is hard as hell.
Well, the weird thing is, from the Washington perspective, where I'm from, is that you're under indictment for allowing foreign governments, Turkey, not North Korea, by the way, or Iran, but like a member of NATO, allowing them to upgrade your flights. Pretty much every member of Congress takes, almost every single 535 House and Senate takes flights to other countries hosted by foreign governments and are given, in effect, tens of thousands of dollars of goods and services by those governments every single time. Upgrades, police protection, motorcades. No one's ever been indicted for that. That's less than what you did. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I am, and I believe that I have a great attorney, and I cannot tell you how, there's a desire, again, of just want to push back on this, the narrative that has been put out there.
Yeah, I think anyone who reads the indictment will come away confused, and that's kind of why I was so anxious to talk to you. What was this? You're a Democrat, lifelong. You were mayor of the biggest city in the United States. It's an overwhelmingly Democrat city. You're one of the most important Democratic officials in the country. You were indicted by Joe Biden's Justice Department.
Eric Adams, the defendant, compounded his games from the straw contributions by using them to defraud New York City and steal public funds. New York City has a matching funds program that matches small dollar contributions from individual city residents with up to 8 times their amount in public funds to give New Yorkers a greater voice in elections. Adams' campaigns applied for matching funds based on known straw donations, fraudulently obtaining as much as $2,000 in public funds for each illegal contribution. Adams and those working at his direction falsely certified compliance with applicable campaign finance regulations, despite Adams' repeated acceptance of straw donations, relying on the concealed nature of these illegal contributions to falsely portray his campaign as law-abiding. As a result of those false certifications, Adams' 2021 mayoral campaign received more than $10 million in public funds. Jesus. Particular, a senior official in the Turkish diplomatic establishment, the Turkish official who facilitated many straw donations to Adams, also arranged for Adams and his companions to receive free or discounted travel on Turkey's national airline, the Turkish airline, which is owed in significant part by the Turkish government to destinations including France, China, Sri Lanka, India, Hungary, and Turkey itself. September 2021, the Turkish official told Eric Adams, the defendant, that it was his turn to repay the Turkish official by pressuring the New York City Fire Department, FDNY, to facilitate the opening of a new Turkish consular building, a 36-story skyscraper without a fire inspection, in time for a high-profile visit by Turkey's president. At the time, the building would have failed an FDNY inspection in exchange for free travel and other travel-related bribes in 2021 and 2022 arranged by the Turkish official. Adams stayed as instructed. Because of Adams' pressure on the FDNY official responsible for the FDNY's assessment of the skyscraper's fire safety was told that he would lose his job if he failed to acquiesce, and after Adams intervened, the skyscraper opened as requested by the Turkish official. These are, now to be fair, these are all just indictments, right? Maybe who knows what the actual court case would have turned out, but I guess now nobody knows. This fucking guy. Was it Tom McDonald made a song about hitting his exes? Is this true? Because if so, based. Just kidding. All right. I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully at 2 or 3. I think a Pierce thing at 1, so be careful. Don't die. Stay safe. We live in a great country. Everything's going to be A-okay, guys, okay? Connections? Oh, fuck. Madman, Hubbub, Night Mat, Bud, Tug, Jack, Wrench, Block, Jerk, Strap, Knee, Yank, and Bolster. Jesus. You can tug something, jerk something, yank something, or jack? No. Block? A jack, a car jack, a wrench, a jack, a block. Oh, wrench it. You can wrench it away, maybe, yeah? Okay. Mat. Knee. Pads. Like a knee pad, a man pad, mat pad. A block. Oh man. No shot. No shot. No, please don't do one away. Fuck! Like you can have a car jack, or you can put it on a block, or you can use a strap to hold something up, or like you could bolster something up. Bud, mad, hub, bub, strap, a knee, maybe? This is not it. Oh no. Strap it. Jacket. Bullshit. Oh, block it. This doesn't even make sense. I just wasted a guess. A bolster, jack, strap. Bud, mad, hub, bub, knee, man. Fuck, what the fuck, dude? I don't fucking know. What the fuck? This is mind fucking me. Bud. Like a buddy? What the fuck? I don't know and I don't care. Don't know, don't care. What? Buster? Yoga accessories and a cap. Wait, what? Buster? What's up, bub? Bud? Hey, Jack? Man? Okay, I never would have gotten this. He's a buster. Okay, and then yoga. You can have a yoga block? Okay. I heard of a yoga mat. Strap, I guess? Bolster? And block, I don't know what these are. And then a hubcap, a kneecap. What's a madcap? What's a madcap? I would have never gotten this. All right. Well, be careful, don't die. I love you.